Hi, everybody. Today's case is a little bit different. It's about a man that owns a market and catering business. I came across this case on Facebook through a group called Parents Against Predators, Watertown, Wisconsin. If you look that up, it's just Parents Against Predators, Watertown. But I wanted to make clear that this is Wisconsin. And when I saw the video, it just kind of triggered me into going, yeah, I'm going to make a video about this. So, because I've been there before, and like, there's a video that I captured from Parents Against Predators, and the video just triggered me. I've been in there. Like he said, it's a great store, good quality. I catered from there once, so it is a good place to buy. But I will not support anybody like this. And the video just triggered me because you hear him. You can't see anybody, but him and his wife are there, and just the they're just so blasé about, oh, whatever. Glenn's, well, the first problem is I hired this teenager. Really? That's your first problem? That's what you think the problem was? No, the problem is that you got caught doing something disgusting. 2, the wife, Parents Against Predators, comes up and says, how does this make you feel that your husband is doing this? And her comments, later on are like, well, you can't believe everything you read. He got that from court papers. So is his wife saying that we should not believe, courts? I mean, he was charged. And I'm just going to assume that he got his charges pled down, so we couldn't see the real truth of what happened. But there's nothing I can do or say about that. But I think it's just disgusting how, they're turning it around on the courts. Well, you can't believe the courts, what's in the courts paper. And no, my first problem is that I hired a teenager. One of the charges against him was from an adult woman. And there are other women, if you go on Facebook and look up this man, other people will say that this was a known thing in Watertown. And that other teenagers didn't do anything about it, but they come forward and say, yeah, it happened to me too. So I can only assume, allegedly, his charges were pled down, and that's why you don't see it. And it kind of I don't like that. I hate when people are able to plea down to a completely different set of charges. I mean, if you abused an underage person, then your charge should have to do with an underage person, not disorderly conduct. There should be something in there that says that this happened to a minor child. So that's why I'm doing this, because I just think it's pretty gross that this guy just comes out and kind of flips it and says, well, first off, it's, I had a teen working for me. Really? I don't think that's your first problem. Your first problem is you shouldn't be offering whisker rubs to teenagers, sir. Okay? And I can't even call you sir. What you did is disgusting. And to put the blame on children and women, because there is an adult woman charge in this case that is on CCAP. You can go look at this stuff. But if you die, and I've seen people come back on the comments and say, well, it's disorderly conduct. What does that mean? Read all of this stuff. Excuse me. Read all of it. if you read the whole document and some of the conclusions to it, like, I did look this up and I know that's not why it is, but he has to give DNA. He's on the, in the DA thing, DNA. He gave that. And then he cannot work or be around underage females. I think it says, I'm going to read it later. We'll get to that. But there are words in the sentencing and what the conclusion is that this is more than just disorderly conduct. So he pled this down, I'm going to assume. And if it was a juvenile, well, it was. One of them is a juvenile and one is an adult, the charges of disorderly conduct on CCAP. But, like I said, if you look at the sentence, you can tell this was more than disorderly conduct. And like I said, they probably pled it down so nobody gets to see anything. And like the wife says, you can't believe everything you read. You're right, ma'am. I don't believe everything I read. I feel and allege that you guys pled this down so there would be no talk of children in this case. Wonderful for you. You had a great lawyer. Bravo. Okay, let's get on to this. So, this is Glenn's Market in Watertown. Glenn Roberts of Watertown is the owner of Glenn's Market and Catering. It came to my attention through another page or group on Facebook called Parents Against Predators Watertown that Glenn Roberts has a history of inappropriately touching women and underage girls who worked for him. The situation I will talk about, I actually found another case on CCAP, so it's more than 2. It's actually 3 so far that I have found on CCAP. So you can go see, and the one is for an underage girl, and it actually does say that, so there you go. So you're being judged, Glenn, and so is your wife for saying you can't believe everything you read. So please remember that when you are a criminal, you get to plead down and say, yeah, I'll plead guilty if. You can go on TV and watch it. Everybody does it. So just because he ended up with the charges he did does not mean it was a higher charge. Just please keep that in mind. These are underage girls we're talking about here, and women. He has no right to touch anybody. It's disgusting what he's doing. So like I said, I found a lot of my stories on, I forgot to do this, but in the Watertown newspaper, the local newspaper, and on CCAP, and there were a lot of people on Facebook who have worked for him who have come forward to say that, yeah, he did this. I was very young and I was afraid to do anything about it, blah, blah. One of those people I know said, the statute of limitations is up on it, but I went down and filed a complaint anyway, even if nothing's done, to leave a trail. And I really congratulate her for coming back years later. Thank you. Because it takes a lot of courage to do that, to go down to a police station and say, this happened to me. And that's how predators and people that do SA abuse against children, that's how they get away with it. They make people feel, like they'll groom you and, if you do this, I'm going to do this. I mean, it's disgusting. So I really applaud her, and I'm not going to give her name. If she ever sees this video, I read your story on Facebook, and I applaud you for coming forward, even if nothing happens, because it's in the record. And she said, I just want it to be there, so if anybody else comes forward, we're leaving a trail of behavior. And so that's a big deal, and thank you for doing that. Okay, so the following is one of the articles out of the Watertown newspaper. So I'm not doing it. This is all alleged, or I'm reading from a source that's online. So I'm just reading and telling you what it says. Roberts was charged last December, and I want to say this was 2024. So this article, I didn't get the date. I was stupid. It probably was 25, but don't quote me on that. There are 2 cases on well, there's actually 3 on CCAP, and I'll get to them. But this is actually the second occurrence. During this case, there's an adult woman that comes forward, and that happened before this incident. So this is the second one that is publicly known about, let's say that. So he was charged with 1 count of disorderly conduct for allegedly pulling a minor's hair, then placing his cheek next to hers as what he described as a whisker rub. That's gross. Ugh. In the previous case, the victim, a 16-year-old, reported to the Watertown police on November 2nd that her employer, Roberts, pulled her ponytail, wrapped his arm around her body, put his cheek against her cheek. That's what the criminal complaint says. The girl also told police that he made her feel very uncomfortable and caused her to lock herself in a bathroom before she left. Dude, that's sick. That's really gross. That an underage child at work feels trapped and has to lock herself in the bathroom. I can't even imagine. Actually, I can imagine, and that's why it's so gross. Roberts, who was in the hallway, had greeted her, and she greeted him back. He then said to her, "Do you know I have a granddaughter named the same as the victim?" The 16-year-old girl told Roberts she did not know that. Roberts then pulled her ponytail, which lurched the girl's head back, causing her pain, and then pulled her close to him from behind and put his arm around the girl from the back, the complaint says. Roberts then allegedly put his head over the girl's shoulder and touched her right cheek with his left cheek so their faces were touching. The victim pulled away from Roberts and continued back to the store to give the shopping cart to a customer. The girl told officers she continued to work her duties for a few minutes and then asked to be excused by the manager. The girl excused herself to the bathroom where she locked herself in and called her boyfriend. Roberts told the officer that he asked the girl if she wanted a whisker rub. Let me tell you something, Glenn. No 16-year-old girl wants a whisker rub from an old frickin' man. Not happening. It's gross. The girl said no and kept walking and then walked out of the store and has not returned. The victim told police that she was working her shift from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. at Glenn's. She usually worked from 4 to 7. But since she was on break from school, she asked for more hours. She was working at the front counter at Glenn's from noon to 12:30 when she said a customer wanted a cart. I cannot even imagine. And I'm not laughing about the situation or what happened or at the girl at all. I have so much compassion for any victim of his, and if you come forward, that takes a lot. It really does take a lot of balls to do that. It's so much courage to come forward against a bully like this who thinks that he can just do whatever he wants with underage girls. It's gross. Another report from Watertown newspaper came out. Glenn Roberts of Watertown faces a new charge of disorderly conduct for inappropriately touching an adult woman who worked for him. The incident occurred on September 30th, 2023. So 2 months difference. And who knows who's in between those dates? Allegedly. The new cases allege a female employee requested assistance from Roberts on the 30th of September 2023 and was inappropriately touched by him, the criminal complaint says. Robert turned to the victim and placed his hand on the small of her back and proceeded to rub his hand back and forth over her bra strap. I can't. The victim told an interviewing officer that Roberts asked her, "Are you my early girl or my late girl?" referring to the work schedule. The victim told Roberts that he continued rubbing her back, moving his hand back and forth over that area. She then excused herself and called her husband to relay how uncomfortable she was. The victim told police that she returned to the registers and continued to help customers. A short time later, another issue arose that Roberts needed assistance. She told police she moved to another register and continued helping customers. However, when she was leaning over the counter to reach for some items for scanning, she felt Roberts close behind her. She said he reached down to grab a roll of receipt paper for his register. She initially thought nothing of it until Roberts did not return to his register. The victim told police that Roberts reached into the counter for something and she felt his left hand on her butt cheek. The woman thought it may have been an accident, but then he continued to touch her for 2 more seconds. That's not, oops, excuse me. When Roberts walked away, and see, he didn't, whatever. When Roberts walked away, the victim told police she grabbed her phone and sent a text message to her husband, the complaint says. She made an excuse and left the business. The victim told police she did not consent to Roberts touching her butt or consent to the rubbing of his hand on her back near her bra strap. The victim then told police that she had been working part-time at Glenn's since September 11th. On October 4th of last year, the victim sent a message to 2 of the managers at the business explaining that she was resigning her position at that business and that she was made to feel extremely uncomfortable during her last shift and did not feel comfortable coming back around that person. The woman's husband and grandmother provided a written statement in which they said that she told them on September 30th Roberts had been inappropriate with her, made her feel extremely uncomfortable by touching her in inappropriate places. The criminal complaint says. Roberts appeared on this case on March 12, 2024 in the Jefferson County Circuit Court. He will also be in Jefferson County Circuit Court the same day for a status conference on the case involving the minor. Yeah, that's not weird. Roberts has entered a not guilty plea. Jefferson County Circuit Court Judge William Hugh ordered a $500 bond with the conditions he is not to have any acts or threats of violence and no contact with the victim online, the court record showed. I read that wrong. I didn't read it wrong. How it came out is wrong. That the conditions are he's not supposed to have any acts of threats or violence with these people in the charges, says the online record with CCAP. Roberts was also served with a temporary restraining order following a 2008, and that one, sir, does say that it was a minor. So I wish that they would. I don't know whatever happened, but I did realize that this case did have to do with a minor because there was a GAL involved. We'll get to that in a minute. A minor employee of the market alleged inappropriate touching from her boss, and Roberts was prohibited from contacting her for a year. We as Americans that vote, we need to look when it comes voting time at the judges on the bench and how they rule, because I don't know what the heck, but $500 for doing something to a child? That's, I don't know. It's over. You can't do anything, but whatever. A criminal complaint was also filed at that time, but Jefferson County supposedly does not retain records of its resolution. I don't think that it doesn't have. I just think that it's closed because it's a CHIPS case. You can't get access if a minor is involved. And how do I know that? I have information on this. There was a minor involved because there was a GAL involved. And for those that don't understand courts or whatever, CHIPS, that is for a minor case, so you're not going to get to see the records. They're sealed. You don't get to see anything if it's a kid. So that's why there's probably no records. They have them. And a GAL, for those that do not know, is a guardian ad litem, which is a lawyer for a minor child in court. So automatically, if you're a minor, you're going to get a GAL or a guardian ad litem to help you in court. They do it for child abuse cases. They do it in divorce hearings where children are involved. They get their own attorney. So that's how I know that this restraining order has to do with a minor. The filing date for that was March 4th, 2009 for a harassment restraining order. On that day, there was a temporary restraining order given. Also on that date, there is a notice of hearing for a restraining order / injunction child abuse. The 3/9 hearing was an injunction hearing. The case was called at 2:30 in the afternoon. Petitioner signs in person along with their attorney. I'm not going to read the attorney. I mean, attorneys, I get it. You're doing your job. You can't go in there and whatever. So I'm not going to, if you want to know, just go up online. It's there in CCAP online in the circuit court records. You can do that. So the attorneys, all that information is there. I don't even have to give it. So he was there with his attorney. The respondent was there with an attorney, and a guardian ad litem also appears for the child who got the restraining order. Court adopts a stipulation of parties and grants a harassment injunction under section 813.1251, effective February 27, 2010. Oh, effective until, which is, I'm not going to go into it. So the court signs that. Also on the 9th, an injunction without firearm restriction for him. Here's something else that made me mad. So on 3/12, his side, if I remember, I didn't write all the information, but I think the defendant tried to get the change of class code. And what that says, the WCIS class code changed. So for those that say, oh, there's nothing here, this is probably a plea deal. Allegedly, I can't get into the case. It's a juvenile case, but I know enough about abuse cases to understand what's going on here. So they wanted it changed from the code of 30710, which is child abuse restraining order. They wanted it just changed to 3711, which is just a harassment restraining order. See, he pled down. He didn't want anything to do with this child stuff. If you have child abuse on your record, there you go. So in Wisconsin, the case code 3710 designates a child abuse restraining order or injunction. This applies to individuals under 18 years who need protection from physical, sexual, or emotional abuse. You can file these actions for free in the county where you reside, where the respondent lives, or where the abuse took place. So that is the case that I was talking about, that I know there was a juvenile involved. I also see that if they could plead down, they were going to. Any criminal is going to do that, and any defense lawyer is going to try to do that. Think about it. When you go for a ticket, you're going to go talk to the, well, some people do, some people just pay the ticket. But you can go in and talk to the, the DA or assistant or whoever's there on that day on your speeding ticket or whatever violation, and you can plead, but you can talk them down. Speeding tickets is like, oh, I'll take more points than reduce my fine because I can't afford it. I mean, anybody can plead down. But I just think when it comes to child under 18 cases, I just feel like that's inappropriate. It should be like change some law that you under no circumstances can plead down, because it's disgusting. This country with child abuse and the Epstein case. I hear that you've got to be careful, or YouTube can take your video down. With all the allegations and women that have come forward and the children that come forward, please, we need to stop. We need to protect kids. Okay, moving on. Okay, so this is this is the case. This was the first case filed. But it's the second incident that came from a charge. The offense date it was filed in December. The offense date of that girl that with the whisker rubs, that was 11/21/23. So I was a year off. I was trying to think back. So it happened in 23. Pled guilty, guilty due to guilty plea. And he probably only did that allegedly because he probably talked it down. But it's here nor there. It's over. There's nothing we can do about it. So the next thing, and I'm not probably going to read everything word for word, but it's part of the CCAP records online, that he appears in court with his attorney. The assistant DA is there. Everything on that document says it was correct. He waived his rights to a speedy trial and all that business, whatever. And a plea of not guilty is entered. Speedy trial is waived by both parties. He received a 500 signature bond with conditions. No acts or threats of violence. No contact with victim 1 as identified in victim witness key. Then there's a recess. Then they come back, and a pre-trial conference is set for January 3rd of 2024. The status conference then would be on the February 19th at 3 o'clock. I already told you what happened, but when I write my reports, I write little questions, and it just says, see, notice how they say victim 1? There's another one coming. So, additional text about this case. The case was called, he was in court with his attorney, blah, blah. They notified the court that there is now a newly filed case that has a scheduled appearance for March 11th. Counsel agrees to schedule both of these together for the March 12th hearing. In the interim, counsel intend to consider discussion a resolution for both cases. See, people, it's not just disorderly conduct. Did you read that? Discussion on a resolution to both these cases. So we all know what that, well, maybe not everybody knows. I don't know. The next status conference and the initial appearance for the second case, the adult woman, is, they're both going to be on March 12th, 2024. The defense is allowed to appear by Zoom Okay. In the conference, unless cases are proceeding to a final hearing. So before he gets his first case, second incident resolved, he's already got another case against him. So they are appearing, and he is told about the charges and the maximum penalties in that case. He says he has a plea of not guilty entered. Speedy trial waived by the defendant. For the second, another $500 bond. Yeah, let him just keep going. On May 14th, this is where it's kind of resolved. But even though this has to do with the second occurrence first case, I'm going to, after this, go into and read some of the things that are said in that first occurrence second thing. I want to read through that with some pointers. So for both of these cases, he is appeared by Zoom. The attorney appeared by Zoom. The attorney is there. The court finds that the Zoom conference is okay, and they begin. Attorney Hart indicates that cases have been resolved. Imagine that. They probably, settled out of court and pled it down. Allegedly, I have no proof of that. So he says he requests to proceed to plea and the sentencing on this day. The court reviews with the defendant his rights and all that crap. He goes over the maximum penalty, so he pleads guilty, changes his mind to guilty. All of a sudden, entered into the case, and it was accepted. Factual basis stipulated, victim right compliance verified, victim impact statement was submitted. The court then accepts his plea, finds the defendant guilty, and orders judgment of conviction entered. The sentences the defendant to serve 20 days in the jail. I heard that he only served 3 days. Consecutive to one another. The court stays the sentence and places the defendant on probation. Probation, people, for 15 months with conditions to undergo any assessment treatment. Glenn, have you done that? Or counseling per agent. No contact with the victim in each case. Defendant shall not. I just would like to, I wonder if this is, because this is crazy that he shall not supervise any female employees in a professional employment setting. So it's kind of disturbing what legalities that actually says. Defendant shall not supervise any female employees in a professional setting. I don't know what that means. But I just think he shouldn't be allowed to work with females, period, because obviously he's got a problem. I have no clue if he went to treatment or not. I got some more digging to do. And I'm sure, well, I'm not sure about anything. I may do an update on this. I don't know. About the other channel on Facebook. They can do what they want. I'm going to do what I want. But we have talked, and I got some other things to do with them that I need to get in touch with them. But that's here nor there right now. So he has to not supervise any females in a professional employment setting. Also to comply with DNA samples. Now, when I first saw that, I was like, well, there you go. Why would he have to give DNA sample if it was just disorderly conduct? But I made a note to myself, so then I went and looked up the statute. Anybody, even disorderly conduct, has to comply with DNA sampling, and wow, that's crazy. So watch out, people. I just thought that DNA was like sex registry, for the registry, sex offender registry. I thought that's what that meant when you gave DNA, or that it was some kind of federal offense, but apparently not. So, just so you know that, and don't go crazy. Well, you gave a DNA. I thought the same thing, but apparently, state of Wisconsin, and it could be for other charges as well. I just looked into this case and what it meant. So he had to give DNA, payment of costs, fees, surcharges, payments of restitution in the amount of $1,500 to victim in case. You can get the case number online. And credit for days already served, 5 days to one case. And like I said, I don't know if he served like a total of 8 days, because I know he was in jail for 3 days on the second occurrence. So I don't know. I don't know how much he probably spent less than a frickin' week for being, I can't. I'm moving on. So he was required to report to Jefferson County Probation. Okay, now this is the second case brought, but happened before the minor. The filing date on this was February 2024, and that's how it got pulled in, and they put them together. If I was that victim, I wouldn't have agreed to that, but I don't know if that's possible. Charges were disorderly conduct. Offense date was September 30th, 2023. This case happened before the other. We know that the other case, we know from the other case documents, he pled not guilty at first. So on the first one, he did plead guilty. On the first case, second occurrence. On the first occurrence, second case, he actually went in there and pled not guilty. So I don't know if he thought, well, this is an adult woman, I won't be charged with this. I don't know. I don't know what their thinking was. I don't know. But after the cases were put together, so to speak, on 5/14, he pled guilty to both cases. There were conditions and notes from each of these cases. Probation said no contact with victim in each case. Defendant shall not supervise any female employees in a professional employment setting. Others were to undergo assessment, treatment, and counseling per agent to comply and to comply with DNA sample provision. He was payment to cost, fees, surcharges. Restitution was made at $1,500 to the victim in only one case. So one person got something, and it's just crazy. Anyway, so this is the second case, first occasion of. This was the first occurrence that somebody reported him. It could have happened before, and these were 2 months apart. Allegedly, I'm going to say this. It's not a fact. This is my own opinion. I just find that there has to be more girls out there, because if you're doing this every couple months to a female at your establishment, you're not starting out. You are not, this is not your first frickin' time around the marry. I almost swore. I'm sorry. When it comes to children and any kind of abuse, I just am triggered so bad by it. I hate it. So I'm calming down, and I'm going to just keep reading. Okay. So like I said, in the second case, first occurrence, he appeared in, and he ended up pleading guilty, changing it. First it was not guilty, and then da-da-da-da. So the timeline, like I said, the one legal one, well, actually the first case is the 2009 restraining order, and like I said, that did involve a minor. I know that for a fact because there was a guardian at Litem. on that case, and I know guardian ad litems are an attorney for underage, at least victims. I actually don't know if they have guardian ad litems for juvenile offenders. I don't know. But in this case, I do know that guardian ad litems are for underage people, victims. So that's how I know that that restraining order was for a minor. That first case was for a minor. Plain and simple. Go look it up. It's on CCAP. It is on CCAP. These 3 cases. There are other little things on CCAP. Nothing to, I mean, everybody gets speeding tickets, but. So that is my my report on this man, which is disgusting, like I said. The reason that this triggered me is because of the video that I'm going to put in here, like I said, where he's asked, well, what about this? And he's like, first off, it's because I hired a 15-year-old or whatever. And I'm just like, really? Okay. Bravo to you to thinking, like I said, that really just triggered me. Like all of a sudden, first off, someone's asking him about this, and he's just totally blaming it on a 15-year-old. She went to work that day not wanting you to rub your whiskers on her. I'm sure that was not a thing that she was thinking, oh boy, my boss is going to do this to me. Honey, no. No. Nobody wants that. No. Trust me. No. And then to find out that it happened 2 months, before that. And I've read that there's other people, and I don't know how to present that because they're not legal cases, but those, if anybody that sees this, and if you were a victim of Glenn Roberts anywhere, doesn't have to be at just work, I encourage you to reach out and report, because he's still alive, and this stuff ended in 24. It was resolved, and it's only resolved for him, because the women and girls that are getting abused, it doesn't stop because he got a fine or he got his case pled down. It doesn't stop for these victims, okay? It can really mess up your life. So I hope the victims of him have gotten help and talked to somebody. I mean, I know counseling ain't for everybody, so I'm not going to push that on anybody. But the reason that I'm really adamant about stuff like this is because I know people very close to me that have been abused. Several people. And it's not over for them. And this happened decades ago. It doesn't end because somebody gets a jail sentence or a prison sentence or a fine. It doesn't end. Some people, it's going to affect their whole life, and they're just going to go down the wrong street forever because they can't deal with it, because they have PTSD, because they have, mental conditions because of it. I mean, when we see things like this online, it's not the end just because someone gets caught. It affects people. It not only affects the victims, and they're the number one people, but there's people around them. Some people can't have normal relationships anymore. Imagine that you can't have a normal relationship with anybody because you've been abused so bad that you can't even trust anybody anymore. And this goes for males and females. I mean, victims are victims. It just doesn't end when a sentence comes down. It just doesn't end. Like I said, I've known people for decades, and some of them, you know, with help and support, can make it through, but it can take a long time for people to get past this kind of abuse. And so that's why I was triggered, and when I saw the video, um that the Parents Against group from Watertown, and I'll put all that information. It's going to be in there. It's going to be on the video I'm going to attach. Um so I want to thank Andrew, I believe your name. I'm really bad with names. I'm going to try and put all the information. I'll put a link to his Facebook group because he's doing good stuff. Um, I wish you would have said something about the day you went out to his store, though. I probably would have come out with you. I probably would have came out there and protested with you. I've been yelling. Somebody probably would have called the cops on me. But I wish you would. We should do that. We should have another protest for Glenn's Market. I mean, like you said, he even said, I've been in here. I can say good things, but that's all I can say about your store. You're getting into abuse of women and girls. Nah, man. You have affected these people that came forward, the people that have not come forward. You have ruined their lives in one way or another. Some people can get through it, get counseling or support or whatever they need, and they can get through it and go down a different road. Pay it forward. I know Andrew is. I am, when I saw his video, if you go to his page, he'll tell you why he's involved in it. Give him a lot of credit for coming forward and reporting what he did. Again, even if nothing happens about it, he reported it, and sometimes you need to do that to get things off. It's a weight that sometimes people can't get rid of. And if going online, Facebook, and reaching out and saving kids is his jam, I congratulate him, and I wish the best for him. Because like I said, I know people, and they're still decades later. Decades, Glenn. It's not over when you paid your fine. It's just not. Your wife can sit there and talk about how, you can't believe everything you read. I don't believe everything I hear. And I don't believe everything I read. You're right. I don't believe. My opinion, I don't believe that those were the original charges on him. But I can't prove that unless I can get in touch with the people in those case files to say, did he plead this down? Because I can't believe that what he did to that girl was an underage girl. I'm sorry. How do you frickin' plead that down? I mean, like I said, I understand all criminals do it. Our criminal system we need to be a little bit harsher on people, because you got a slap on the wrist. You got a slap on the wrist. And these victims we don't know how they're doing. $1,500 to one of them? Dude, that didn't do anything. It probably didn't even pay for counseling. Come on. Okay. I'm going to be done because I could go on for hours. Maybe I'll do a live and we'll just rip on all people like this. Anyway, I forgot. I went on. If anybody that has been abused by Glenn, you want to get in touch with me and give me your story privately, not private, you want to put it in the comments, because like I said, sometimes just going public or somebody else going, yeah, that happened to me, which happened to me last year, an occurrence. And I'm telling you, it can lift a lot of weight off when you find out you're not the only one that thinks something. But the people that were victimized by this man. I am so sorry. I'm really sorry that happened, because he sounds like a really perv. It sounds disgusting, and his wife should probably join him in some counseling, because these are underage. Some of them are underage. And I'm going to say some because there are people on Facebook who have come through with their stories and said, yeah, that happened to me. I was so young, I didn't know what to do about it. It can be embarrassing. It can be, why did I it's a guilt thing for victims. Why, I can't tell anybody what happened. What a weakling I am. I mean, I give kudos to anybody that's a victim, actually, that has survived this far. And if you're struggling, I will pray for you, and hope that you have the courage to tell somebody. It doesn't have to be the police, because opening up can be really just for some people. I'm not saying all people. So, as in my other videos, after I record this, I come in and overlay stuff, and at the end I put information. Thanks to Andrew for doing this video. Thanks to whoever above, fate, whatever you want to call it, that I saw it and went, that is crazy. I'm putting this on my thing. I just don't like that this person is in a parking lot telling people, oh, that was a long time ago, and oh, that's what you get when you hire a 15-year-old. They blab their mouth, blah, blah. Okay. And wives that are, I don't even want to go into her side of the story. I know from other people, I know how spouses can be wrapped up in this stuff. I know how they can know about things, but it's tough for them to go, sorry, I thought my camera was closing. I know it's rough for them too, and maybe his wife needs help. I don't know. She can reach out too, because what happened is disgusting. And if Andrew would have showed up and that was my husband, I would have ran the other way. I'd been embarrassed. I know he didn't put her on camera, but I would have been embarrassed to answer that question. And okay, I can't. I'm gonna stop. Okay, so this is a local one, so let's share this. Comment and talk below amongst yourselves. If I see it, I can come in. But honestly, when you put something on a public format, the best way to make everybody else aware is to like something on Facebook or on YouTube. Like and share, because then it gets put out to more people. And this needs to be put out. And I'm sure there's cases like this all over the place. And if I come against one, or, I can find, if anybody has any ideas, this one kind of peeved me off, with the answers and the attitude of this guy. So, okay, I'll put the things in. Just like and share it with people. Get it out. Maybe more victims will come forward. If people know that someone has their back and support them, if you go and you say something about this man and put some charges on him, I'll even go to court with you. I will be your support person, and if I can make it, I would stand by you. I would support you. Victims, I was going to say people like you, victims need support. They need support, because it's a scary ordeal that they may have to say what they let happen. And sometimes that's just guilt. I don't know, I'm such a loser because I let this happen. No, you're not. It has nothing to do with you. It's your attacker. It's your whatever you want to call him. It's Glenn's fault. If you are a victim of Glenn, it's his fault. It's not your fault. Um, I'm really sorry if it happened to you. If he did something to you and you haven't come forward, I'm really sorry about that. I'm disgusted with this person, and I'm asking everybody to boycott this place. Do you want to give this man money for? Oh, first problem, it was a 15-year-old. Really? Okay. Well, Glenn, I'm not coming to your place anymore. I used to buy stuff all the time from you. Dude, I got a local market right in my town I guess I need to start going to. Okay, so pass it on. Do some comments. If anybody needs to come forward, let's do this. I mean, let's support the people that were hurt. If anybody wants to come forward, I will support you. If you don't lie and you want to do something, I will support you. It's as simple as that. I do not like abusers of any kind. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know what I'm doing next. I've been really, 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 really busy in town, out of town, doing a lot of things. I have a lot of disabilities, so sometimes that keeps me down. Some of my disabilities right now I can't talk about. But I'm always around. I'm always watching. I'm watching people's pages, channels. I'm in the background doing stuff, so I will see you in my next video. Bye.